Hey everybody, back with Mike Ricker here again. You saw the first part. We're going to move into a different area in the second part of this interview. And Mike, shifting from drugs and the war on drugs, I want to talk to you about terrorism, domestic and the garden variety of terrorism.
Okay.
So, taking you back a little bit to your DEA days, Oklahoma City, did Timothy McVeigh change the way that we see terrorism here now?
Well, honestly, he couldn't have helped but change the way we look at it. I mean, it was one of the first times it was brought to our door in such a huge and public way. I was fortunate and unfortunate enough to have been intimately involved with that, and a great many of the people that perished in that attack were my friends. It was my first duty station in DEA, and I can tell you from my personal standpoint, I'll never look at things the same way again. You can't allow something like that to go on and not change you some. So yes, it's changed everybody.
Does it change the way that we prepare for that kind of attack?
You know, I would say yes, but it's so very hard to prepare for what many have thought is a lone wolf type attack. I mean, okay, he might not have been a lone wolf. He was working with some compatriots, but it's so very difficult. We live in a free land, thank God, and people can buy the elements necessary to kill a lot of folks. It's a shame, but do we sacrifice our freedom for a sense of security? It's the age-old question.
Landscape has changed a lot since then. Speak to this newer, seem to be more frequent occurrences now of jihadis from Canada, Australia, America, Britain, going to places like Syria and joining that jihad.
You know, and that's so disappointing, Mike, because in all honesty, I have a very hard time understanding anybody who wants to join something that means the destruction of somebody else in almost a criminal light. In wartime, nations fight nations. These are people that engage in a holy war, which is something they might or might not believe in, then automatically or out of the blue they convert. You wonder if they have some type of criminal intent in the first place. I know that there is a lot of recruitment out of prisons because the Islam push is very large in prisons. Prison gangs are heavily influenced by Islamic activities. So that gives you maybe a little bit of insight into the mindset of some of these people. But if you look most recently in Murrah, Oklahoma, where the man cut the head off the lady. Here again in Oklahoma, of all places, it's a perfect crucible to breed these type of malcontents that would take advantage of their freedoms, take advantage of a friendly environment to make their name nationally. Our press doesn't do us any favors by sensationalizing these events. They make these people into martyrs, into heroes. It's a very sad time in our history.
Same time, media has to cover those stories, though.
They do, but you know, considering the fact that and I don't think anyone would dispute the fact that the press does lean a little bit left. You can't help but wonder why they almost pity the perpetrator rather than vilify the perpetrator.
Back to terrorism, though, how do you, somebody who's a religious fanatic like that, is there a way to stop them other than due to the body one that?
It's been my experience, the only way to stop them is to provide them with exactly what they want, this martyrdom. These young people that they brainwash into becoming suicide bombers, they are hell-bent to give themselves a place in paradise. And they will kill you, me, and everybody else. Unfortunately, there's very few ways to stop them, other than a very fatal and final way. I don't like that, but that is what's on us, and that's a responsibility we have. At this point in time, there are as many fanatical females as there are males in their ranks.
Increasing in numbers.
It is, absolutely, and all of the former Soviet Union states that are heavily influenced by Islam, extremely dangerous and extremely zealous. We really need to be careful about that.
So we can't control if somebody detonates an IED or car bomb next to us, but we can be as prepared as we can be for something like lone wolf attacks, like mall shootings, beheadings in the workplace, like your Oklahoma City incident, things like that.
Absolutely.
So as not just military and law enforcement, but as civilians, we can take responsibility for ourselves, prepare as much as we can prepare for what we can prepare for.
And you bring up a really good point. And you know, the situation is this. Law enforcement, there are a finite number of law enforcers in the area. You and I both have a law enforcement background. I can tell you from personal experience in my career, I cannot answer every call. I would rather guess in your career, you've met with the same frustration. You come onto the shift, you answer as many calls as you can, you go home, you pass on the rest of the calls. Even 911 calls, it's going to take us several minutes to get to the place. By the time we get to the place, the incident location, people are going to be dead, people are going to be dying, people are going to be bloody, and the suspect is going to be gone. People have to take their own responsibility, their own accountability for their safety and well-being. We don't need to have a armed state in the guise that everybody carries around rifles on their shoulders all day, every day. We need to be aware of the threat. We need to be gamed already in our minds how we're going to handle the threat. We're going to not have to be afraid to use words that will stop the threat. I mean, political correctness is a wonderful thing, but if it prohibits us from pursuing our own manifest destiny, our own capability to protect ourselves, then it is no longer good for us.
Right. It's a reason to call first responders responders.
Right.
Right.
Unfortunately, their response is to find all the dead bodies on the ground.
Right.
The victims are the ones that need to be responding first.
Right. Great answers. Stay tuned for part 3. Part 3, we've had pretty heavy topics with dope and terrorism. Let's get a little bit lighter and let's talk about something fun like shooting. Stay with us.
Excellent. Thank you, Mike.